Well, it turns out that I discovered that my school has some challenges with graduating students, especially minority students. So I saw they had a need and I had a desire, so we combined them and we created this event, the X to Next Leadership Retreat. This X to Next, oh, I can't say text X. So the X to Next Leadership Retreat is all about three things: leadership, scholarship, and mentorship. What we do is we provide the students with examples of what their life is going to look like when they get out. So what that does is it builds a bridge between where they are and where they want to be. It shows them that there really are people who are just like them, who had the same struggles as they did, the same problems, the same concerns, the same goals, and this is how they made it out. And more importantly, what skills do they have right now that they could be developing that will help them become even more successful in the near future? So you know that if your programming skills are good in Jester, then you could also do pretty well at Ernst & Young or Cargill or IBM or 3M or Apple or Dell or any other company that you work for. So that's part of it there. You show them through examples of what they need to do. Then you give them real experience. And that's very key too. We do a lot of role play. It's not just I talk and you listen. It's, hey, let's see how this really would play out to see if it's really gonna work. So it goes from information to application right on the spot. And that's how you guarantee that people are ready. And then the other thing we do is we give not only examples, we give exposure, meaning they come to my house and they see some things that they wouldn't have possibly seen. Some of them may not have ever seen someone who owned their own home before. Some of them may not have seen someone who's a successful alumni who is willing to open up their couch, their floor, even their refrigerator, whatever they want to do in order to have the experience that they want to have. Just letting them see it, because what it does is it gives them a snapshot of their future. It lets them see it truly is possible. And they know it because they've seen someone just like them who has it. And what that does in turn, is it creates a whole new set of expectations. I mean, it makes you believe that you too can do this as well. So it forces you to place a greater level of demand on yourself. Now that you know that someone else has made it, it tells you that you can also make it too. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
So we have a real problem here. If the graduation rates are sagging, now this isn't just a problem with just the community, this is a problem with the whole university. It makes everybody look bad. And more importantly, this is changing the lives of young men and women, those who may have started but never finished. What does that do? When one person graduates, every time one student, because every time even one student graduates, the whole community gets better. It sets a whole new expectation in that person's family, especially when you have a first-generation college student, because now everybody else also sees, I can do it too. That I can also, just like my big brother or my cousin or my big sister or whatever, that I can also do the same thing as well. That they went to this big school coming from this little town or from this broken home or from this neighborhood or whatever the story is, and they did it. So now I can do it. So now not only do we have one graduate, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This can literally change and transform a whole family or a community just because we now have one person who does it. And that's why this is too big of a problem for us to just sit back and say, oh, well, somebody ought to do something about this. This is just too bad. No, the whole purpose of this retreat is to show that this isn't something that somebody should do something about. It's something that you can do something about. And just your presence alone means so much. Just showing up and just letting people know that you care and that you're connected and that you want to see them succeed. That means so much to them that all you have to do is just say, I'm here. That's all you have to do. And they take that as a sign of being significant to somebody else. And now they understand that every time they sit down in the PCL or the UGL, every time they're in their study group, or every time they're in class, they aren't just representing for themselves, they're representing for their whole Longhorn family. That they too are a branch on this family tree. And they get to choose whether this is going to be a beautiful branch or whether it's going to be a broken branch. But because they understand that this is something that is significant and is big, they tend to attach a lot of purpose to everything, attach a lot of meaning. And a lot of the things that sidetrack and distract us are no longer temptations, because you understand that you have big things and that all you have to do is do this, this, and this, and it happens. So I'm definitely not saying that this is going to change everything, but it's going to change something. So I'm not going to make the crazy claim that this is going to change everything, but I know for a fact that this changes something. So I know this isn't going to change everything, but I know for a fact that we just changed the lives of some folks who were here this weekend.
Just think about whatever you want to think about.
So the biggest opportunity and possibly also the biggest disappointment was that these problems don't change. The same thing that I struggled with years ago when I was in school, or the same things that they're still struggling with. The game doesn't change, only the players do. That's ridiculous. The same issues that their older cousins and brothers and some people's parents used to struggle with, they're still dealing with the same thing. So obviously not enough people have stepped up and said, look, let's put a marker in this and make sure that from this point on, nobody ever has to deal with this again. Nobody ever has to struggle with this again. We're going to put a solution in place and put some systems in place to make sure that this is no longer the case. So the focus of this weekend is all about significance. It's about being the one, not hoping, but making it happen. Not wanting for it to happen or wishing, but being the one who's going to step up and initiate that change so that the game changes forever. So that when their kids go to school, their kids will be able to celebrate all the great things that they put in place. That's pretty cool. Instead of just writing a check, I wrote the check and I also opened up my home. And that's my way of saying I'm going to do my part with what I can do, as well as the network of other alumni that I know who are also invested in making sure that we see some change.